I do a few little notes to the producers so that they get it. So I'm going to get started. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Yay. Okay, so hi, Alyssa. This is Jana, and I am here with Theresa Oschmann, and we're getting ready to record her feature on Oh My Health, There's Hope. So we're going to get started. I'm going to count us in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Oh My Health, There's Hope. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I'm here with Theresa Oschmann. As a director of sales in a higher education landscape for 15 years, Theresa Oschmann built a portfolio business that exceeded $800,000 in sales annually. How did she do it? She believed that business is built on relationships and made it her business to build them. In 2015, Theresa resigned from corporate America and emerged on the other side as an entrepreneur, taking what was once business expenses and turning them into profit center as a Send Out Cards affiliate. She is one of my favorite people online. And with COVID and all the Wi-Fi issues going on, it's taken some work getting together. But we're here now, so I'm really excited. Thank you, Theresa, for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So great to see you. And weather issues on my end, being on the East Coast, and then translating into internet issues. Thank you for your patience.
We're just really excited to have you here because you're one of my favorite people.
Oh, likewise.
I was hoping, because what we do here is we share a story of hope. And I was hoping you would share one of your stories of hope, because I just know we're going to put that ripple effect out into the world, and somehow we're going to create positive change.
Great, great. So the one that really has stuck with me, and when I think about where I had been, where I am, and where I'm going, I'm reminded of back when, probably about 25 years ago, I was diagnosed with a tumor on one of my glands. It was right behind my right ear. My children at that time were in their early teens, and went to the doctor, had it aspirated, and he said, well, based on your lifestyle, it's 80% benign, 20% cancer. And all I heard was the 20% cancer. I didn't hear, or it just went right over my head, right? And within 2 weeks, I was in the operating room, and they took this thing out and did a frozen section right there in the operating room. That came back as benign, and then it was sent off to pathology. And a couple of weeks later, it came back as benign. So that was wonderful. But the recovery was very long, and when I say very long, it was a couple of months. Just imagine cutting from the back of your ear all the way down to your throat, moving the skin over, removing that tumor. So the recovery took quite a bit of time. But during that time, I was flooded from friends and colleagues and people I didn't even know, with cards and just messages of hope you're feeling better, take care, hospital staff, my doctor's office. The messages just kept coming. And that is where my love for sending the tangible touch came about. And that's how it transcended into my career of what was over 2 decades in higher education sales and marketing. And I had built that business for someone else and just doing what I loved. And that is connecting with people on a personal level, not just a business level. And it was just an amazing experience. And when I was offered the opportunity, hey, you could actually do this and create a business, show other people how to do it, I'm like, yep, you've just taken everything from my head to the heart, and I can share that with other people.
I love that. And by the way, I'm a huge fan of Send Out Cards. I feel like, and I don't know if you agree, but when we do our business online, which most people are doing right now,
Yeah.
there's this huge disconnect in that personal connection. It's not like they can come into your store, look you in the eye, say, hey, how are you doing? Like the olden days when we would go into the store, hey, how are the kids? What's the wife doing? And we knew all about them. We know nothing about the people we're doing business with online because they haven't taken the time to get to know us. There's like this huge disconnect. I love that you can send those messages through send out cards, and they're personalized, which is my favorite part of it. Every person I've ever sent one to is like, oh my gosh, I love this. It's like so me and I love it. I love the ones that you send me.
Thank you. It, those are the ones when we can personalize to the recipient, whether it's including a picture, whether it's a life celebration, or just a thinking of you. One of my favorite cards to send is, I should have hugged you longer the last time I saw you. And, people hold on to those cards. They don't end up in the recycling bin. They end up on refrigerators. They end up on fireplace mantles. And it just really builds that heart connection.
You're really right about that. Mine don't end up in the trash. I have them pinned on boards because they're like snapshots of celebrations of my life that somebody's reached out, and I have them hanging on my boards. So you're right. They're that momentous that people remember them and they want to put them somewhere.
Exactly. And that makes it even so much more special. So when people are, when you reach out and say, hey, how are you? I was just thinking about you. They'll remember that they got that card from you. They got that tangible touch from you. And, in our no touch world, when we can touch people with that, wow, it's absolutely, it's like the 4th of July fireworks.
So what would you say to people? Because I hear this all the time. Nobody sends snail mail anymore. Nobody. But that's not true. And honestly, when I receive a thank you on an email, I glance through it, right? It's like, I appreciate the thank you. Anytime I get a thank you in any form,
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. But when someone takes the time to send me a very personalized card, it's like huge for me, and I don't forget them. Like I remember, hey, I remember after I did your podcast, I got a card. I remember after our phone call, I sent off a quick message that says, thanks for the phone call. It was awesome. And then a couple days later, you sent me this beautiful card of a snapshot of us talking. It was amazing. And so it just really does take it to another level. And I feel like it's a heartbeat, a touch every time you do that you are connecting with them on a different level.
Absolutely. And, people do say, you're absolutely right. People don't send snail mail anymore, but people are, and people are receiving snail mail. The only problem is that it's all advertising or their bills in the mail, right? Okay. And so that's what people are receiving. And when they do get a card that's in a beautiful envelope, almost looks like a wedding invitation, right? And it's printed, there's not a label attached, it's printed, and they're going to see, oh my gosh, um, Jenna sent that to me, she sent that to me. I'm going to open that. Everything else goes by the wayside, right? So they're going to open that first. The thing is, even with the email, if you can find a mix between the tangible touch and email, just imagine when you're sending a card and then, a few days down the road, they get an email from you. People are more apt to open that email and say, oh, gee, I wonder what she wants, or I wonder what he wants, or, because you stayed in touch in a very personal way, not just an email.
I like it. I like it a lot. And I think that I'm just going to talk a little bit about the owner of the company, Cody Bateman.
Oh,
The
sure.
whole reason I got 100% on board is you sent me that free gift, and it was one of his books, and it was about human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all about human connection. I had no idea what I was going to be reading, but the title was like, that's my jam.
Yep.
It was so powerful to me that I got it. And then I get this next book, Promptings. And I think about moments that we miss of saying to someone, I love you, or I treasure you. I send cards to my husband. We live in the same house, and he gets them in the mail.
I do that too. Guilty as charged.
Yeah, or to my kids, and they're like, Mom, you could have just called. Nope, I wanted to send a card.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's Cody and his wife Jody are such an amazing couple, and this company that they've created. And how many times do we not act on a prompting? And people say, well, what the heck is that, right? So it's that intuitive voice that says, do this, or reach out, do this. My daughter-in-law, her and my son they bought a house here locally, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And they received a beautiful housewarming gift from her grandmother, who happens to, or did at the time, live in Bakersfield, California. That's where my daughter-in-law is from. So they put off sending her a thank you card, Grandma Betty. I had the opportunity to meet Grandma Betty many years ago. Awesome woman. They get this beautiful gift, and they're putting off sending a thank you card. Okay. Well, Grandma Betty passed away before they sent that thank you card. They didn't listen to that inner voice to send her the thank you card. And now there's so many times that my daughter-in-law brings that up.
So I just got goosebumps because I'm an intuitive. And since I was very young, as an empath and intuitive, I always acted on mine. And so when I read Cody's book, it was like a fork in the road on us having very similar intuitive premonitions and taking totally different paths, and how that inspired him to make sure you don't miss a moment, and
Exactly.
inspired me to be more aware of those, like always be aware. Don't ever poo-poo on it or ignore it, because you may not get that opportunity again.
Absolutely. Never ignore what is calling you, what is calling in your heart and soul. And I use that example of my daughter-in-law because that's not a very, that's a very recent episode. And it just really hit home. It really hit home for her. And they never miss an opportunity anymore.
Well, I'm going to share one of your quotes because I think you are super quotable.
Well, thank you.
And this one really, like, it says a lot to me. But one of her quotes is, "You have 84,600 seconds today. Have you used one to say thank you?" And honestly, I'm a huge gratitude person. And I literally set my clock an hour early every morning to get up just to go online on social media, because I use it as a platform to build my business, to
Sure.
give back by who liked me today, going out and saying, thank you for liking my page. I leave voice messages for them on their Instagram and connect with them. That
Sure.
has paid off so well for me because I'm making personal connections. It's like sending that card. If I had their addresses, that's what they'd be getting.
Absolutely. The power of gratitude, the more we are grateful, the more we have to be grateful for. And the more we look for it, the more we see it, right? So it works with the same premise as, have you ever test driven a car and you love this vehicle, right? And nobody else is driving it, right? You've only seen it every great while. You take it out for a test drive, okay? Love the car. Oh my gosh, just love it. Nobody else has it. Took it out for a test drive. I'm going to go back in about a week or so, drive it again just to make sure I'm sure, but nobody else has a car like that. All of a sudden, everywhere you turn, there's that car. Everywhere you turn. Why? Because that's where your focus is. So when we focus on gratitude, if we make that part of our everyday living, it's amazing the effect that it has on others and what it brings to our lives. And that's the icing on the cake.
One of the little snapshots that you can look at this as is, we just had a vacation. I spent a week with 7 of our grandkids, which wasn't really a vacation, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Of course.
But our youngest granddaughter, who's 3, every time I would leave the house to go to the store or something, if I didn't have my mask on, which I wouldn't until I got out of my car at the store, she'd say, "Nana, don't forget your mask. You don't want to get the Rona."
The Rona.
"Do you want to get the Rona, Nana?" And so I was putting together her birthday card, and I found a picture of her and me in mask in the car. And I wanted to send it to her. It says, "Happy birthday, Ray. We love you. And don't worry, we're not going to get the Rona because we have our mask on." But that's what I mean about creating those incredible personal moments. She's not going to get a birthday card like that from anyone else. And she's going to laugh as a 3-year-old, remembering us in those masks in the car and her telling us, don't get the Rona. You don't want to get the Rona.
Exactly. It's capturing those very special moments And when we can put that on a card, oh my gosh, you talk about your granddaughter. My granddaughter loves our dog, and I have pictures of her with Bailey, and I would send her, we can do an 8x10 card, so big card, right? So I sent her a card with her and Bailey on the front, and she's been sleeping with that card. And so I would get a call from my daughter, and she says, Mom, you need to send Grace another one of those cards because it's in tatters. She's been sleeping with it. So even, at 3 years old, at 6 years old, they hold on to those. And that'll be it's such a wonderful memory.
So this isn't a card commercial, by the way.
No.
But here's the thing. It's about what I talk about all the time, putting yourself out there, putting those heartbeats out into the world, being grateful, being thankful. One of the things that, again, one of Theresa's beautiful quotes, I have superpower. It not only transforms, it transcends. And her superpower can soften a hardened heart, humble a prideful spirit, and create a space for love, for the unlovable. And I love that, because we are really, when we're reaching out and doing that, we're saying, thank you for your time. Thank you for, your input on this. Thank you for sharing with me. You matter.
Right.
So I love that you're doing that, because again, huge disconnect when you're doing social media. I don't care how personalized my email is. It doesn't have the same impact as when they receive a card in the mail.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I said, gratitude, it's simply saying thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for that text message. Thank you for liking my post on Facebook or Instagram, or thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn. Whatever that is, thank you is so powerful, and we just don't use it often enough.
100%. I believe that we do not use thank you enough. So when you're doing send out cards.
Sure.
And you're doing it online. I get this all the time. I can't ask my clients for their address. I already asked them for their email, and that's like an invasion of their privacy. Honestly, I thought that too. I really did. I thought, I'm already invading their email box. Now I'm invading their home space. And how well do they trust me that they would give that to me? I got to tell you, it was way easier than I thought. I started collecting emails and addresses so that if they booked a call with me, when I completed the call, I could send a quick thank you letter out to them. And it was so easy. Like, it was seconds after the call, pop on, send it out. Or even at the end of the day, I could go through my calendar, grab those addresses to my email. So I know it sounds like maybe you don't want to give out your address. And I have had one person write in, just send me anything you need to through email.
And you know what? You ask 10 people for their address, 9 will give it to you. The 10th may or may not. They'll say something like, well, no. Well, and then my comeback usually is, you know what? You and I really don't know each other that well. And in this crazy world of ours, I don't blame you a bit. So I'll go first. Here's my address.
Oh, that's a great one. I give mine out all the time.
I do too.
Stalkers at my door. I've never had a problem. And honestly, you could Google my name and find everything anyways online.
I'm like that too. And, and I get it. In this crazy world, seriously, you don't know. You really don't know. And so I offer it up that way. And as when people start asking, like you experienced yourself, right? That people do give their address.
Oh no, I get a lot of I was surprised. I thought, well, I'll add it to my calendar as they're booking. I'll ask for an address.
Sure. Yeah.
And I didn't make it mandatory. And I was surprised at how many people gave me their address.
Yeah. It's amazing. As someone else who I sent the book to, she had wanted to start sending cards. And she was like, how do I get their address? And I said, well, you ask for it. And it's not being flippant or, or anything. I said, just ask. And she says, well, I feel really weird about that. I said, I asked you for yours and you gave it to me, and you don't know me from anybody. You don't. And you gave me your address. She says, oh, okay, I can ask for addresses.
One of the important things that we talk about when I'm teaching my clients is to create those bonds of trust, right? Build that rapport with them. And let me tell you, you're halfway there if someone gives you their address.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
saying, I trust you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like put it out there and start building those relationships and send them, and they trusted you with them. Be sure you're sending them a card, because otherwise in their head, they're thinking, why did they ask for my address? What's going to happen?
Exactly, exactly. And so that's the key, is to stay in touch. Um, you know, send a card every now and then, whether it's a thank you or birthday or thinking about you. Could be something silly. I sent a whole bunch of people, and I think I sent you one, where it was a toilet, a cup, a mug, and it said, I survived the toilet paper shortage of 2020 or something silly. So, you can be silly and still stay in touch. And I got so many phone calls from that, people just saying, hey, that was so funny. Um, and it was just, and I just find that I also get, and I don't know if you experience this or anybody else out there, where, well, I don't know who to send to, what to send, etc. Right? So when we look for reasons to send, whether it's life celebrations, whether it's to say thank you or thinking of you, the more we look for that, the more of that we see.
Oh, I love it. Where your focus goes, your attention grows, and it's pretty
Exactly.
amazing.
It is.
So again, this wasn't a commercial, but
No, not at all.
it was so important for us to get out there ways of connecting online in a real, authentic, personal way, to put those heartbeats out into the world and gravitate towards them. This was so easy for me because I was telling Theresa before I was introduced to send out cards. I was sending out cards anyways. I hand wrote them. I had to send them with my husband to his office so that he would run them through his stamp machine, because I would rather take a bullet than go to the post office. And then he would forget, and I would visit him a week or two later in the office, take him lunch or something, and I'd see them stashed in the corner. And I'd be like, wait, those haven't gone out? And so then we'd have this big argument about him not taking responsibility for what he took to the office. But anyways, this was just so easy because it was a couple buttons. I could track it. I knew where it was at, like in the process of being sent. It was,
Sure.
and I could keep a record of who was getting cards from me. I know a lot of companies do like a kind of like a drip campaign where it's
Okay.
like, they're touching you with like, thank you so much for this. We would love to invite you to this. But personal, because this is not about the masses. This is about personalized heartbeats. It's about reaching out to that person you just interviewed on a podcast, that person you just had a discovery call with, and saying, thank you for your time. It's not a mass kind of
No. Mm-mm.
company.
No, it isn't. And it's also for the person who, when you're sitting there and you're working or you're reading or whatever, and someone comes into your mind and you're thinking about them, right? It's so easy just to go either on our app or go on your computer and send them a quick card.
So we're back to promptings.
Yes, we are. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, how many times have we thought about somebody and said, I'll get back to, I'll reach out to them later, and later becomes 2-3 months down the road.
No, it's very true. We were just talking about a friend of mine who was diagnosed with cancer, and before I knew of send out cards, I told her I had gone to the stationery store and I bought these little RSVP cards that were on clearance, and I sent her a card probably for 90 days, every single day. But I had done it all in one day, put little quotes and motivational things and things I loved about her, and I sealed them up, stamped them, and would dribble them out to her, which, by the way, was a huge impact, because when we have a chronic thing going on in our lives, I don't care how much you love that person, life gets in the way. And you might be there showing up with a casserole and running the kids to school the first week, and then the next week, maybe 2 days. And then the next week, may not make it at all. And it's not because you're a bad person. You're not. life gets in the way. And some people that we want to reach out to, they need to be touched on a regular basis because what they're going through is happening on a regular basis.
Exactly. And I've even heard people say when they receive our cards that it's like dopamine in an envelope. Just I'm like, okay, if you want to call it that, I guess so. But not knowing enough about that myself, but it's like, oh, it lifts your spirits, and it just takes you away from what you were in that moment and brings you to a place of, wow, she thought of me, or they took time to think of me and send me this.
It's to me like sunshine in an envelope, because
Exactly.
it really is amazing. And no matter what kind of day I'm having, it perks me up and makes me feel grateful that somebody was that kind to send something to me.
Yep. And that's what it goes back to again, is the gratitude, right? And I think it's the only, well, I could be wrong, but I often think about how it's so mutually beneficial, right? It's beneficial to the person who is sending it, and then it's to the person who's receiving it. It's just a win-win all the way around.
I love it. And here's the best part, and again, not a commercial, but I had birthdays, and my nephews are getting older. They're hitting 15 and 14, and
Oh,
they just
sure.
want money, right? So I usually
Oh,
will
yeah.
send them an Amazon card or something. And before, I would like try to do the digital and what's their phone numbers, because I don't have my nephew's phone number. It just got so much easier to send them this beautiful card of a picture of us saying, we love you, we're celebrating you. And they put the doggone Amazon card in there for me. It was like all in one button, and it was awesome.
Yeah, if you can find, a system like what you and I use, it's high touch in a no touch world. And that's really what it is. And it's just no going to the post office. Oh my gosh, holiday season, I would rather pull out my eyelashes than be at the post office.
Yeah.
I know that sounds horrible, but yeah. The lines are crazy. And now, with having to wear masks, the social distancing, I have visions of people trying to mail packages this holiday season, and the line just going out endless out the door of the post office, because you have to be 6 feet apart, and then, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't have to do that. Thank you.
I love it. So Theresa, where do people
Yes.
find you at?
People can find me at, well, I can give you, let's see, what can how about Theresa? You can actually find me at Theresa.Oschmann@gmail.com. Should I spell that?
Nope, it's going to be in the show notes, so they'll find it. I
Perfect.
just want them to hear it, but
Mm-hmm.
absolutely everything will be in the show notes so that you can connect with Theresa if you want to know more
Perfect.
about the send out cards. But if you just want to know more about her, connect with her
Thank you.
anyways, because that's the kind of amazing lady she is. And
Thank
so
you.
I highly recommend that you reach out, start following her, connect her, and get some of her joy. Like, we can all use a little bit of more joy in our lives.
Sure can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Theresa, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so great to see you and to connect with your audience.